started seeing myself differently. I realized that since the age of 8, I had envisioned myself as always the fat girl. So as long as I was seeing myself as that fat girl, I was gonna be that fat girl. So in this video, I want to share my weight loss story. And this is the story from the beginning, you know, how I lost 120 pounds, but really how it all started, like why I was 350 pounds to begin with, because I think it's an important part of the story. And I think that, and I know I haven't shared it enough. And I feel like it's something that people really should understand. If you're understanding, you know, if you're really wondering how I lost 120 pounds and did it in a year, in a year's time. And the reason that's important is because, like, when I think about it, yes, I lost 120 pounds in a year, and this was about 7 years ago or 8 years ago, as a mom of 4, and, you know, I was in corporate America, high-powered position, you know, demanding career, all those things, when I lost 120 pounds. And to really get into the story of how that happened and why that happened, I think the origin is really important. So I wanted to come here today and kind of share that, because I get that question all the time. Like, yeah, you lost 120 pounds, but number one, how did you do it in a year? Because that's like 12 pounds a month. And I'm not going to pretend it was just like, it was literally like this. So there were months where I lost 20 pounds. I've got a whole video showing how I lost 30 pounds in 30 days. Like, it wasn't just like this. It was literally like this, and then, you know, like that's how the process works. For anyone who's like, oh yeah, this weight loss journey was like that, that's just not realistic, right? So let's be realistic and share the real details. So in order for me to share that journey, I think I got to start at the beginning. So if you want to come along with me on this journey, just kind of listen up, you know, get some notes if it makes sense to you. I'm going to be sharing tips along this path as well, and then kind of sharing what I did and why it happened, because I think the mindset of where I was is super important in showing how I lost the weight. All right. So the reason I called this video Always the Fat Girl is because literally, like, getting started, that was my story. I remember being a kid and being told my entire life I was fat. The day I was born, I was 10 pounds. So I was born fat, according to my family, you know, like, oh, Ileka's so fat. Like, I was just the little fat girl, you know, always there. Oh, she's fat. She's the biggest one of her sisters. She's the biggest one of her cousins. So my first memory is literally being told that I was 10 pounds when I was born. You know, it was, my sister was being born. I'm 3 years old, a little over 3 years older than her. I remember the day she was born. And the day she was born, I was told, yeah, she's 9 pounds, 2 ounces, but you were 10 pounds. You're the big one, you know? And it was just like, okay. And then, and that was just the story. Then when I was five or six, I remember when I was like 5 or 6, my cousin and I, we would go weigh ourselves all the time. I don't know why we were always hopping on the scale. She was 2 years older than me, and we were roughly the same height, right? She might have been a little taller, who knows? But I remember us getting on the scale and we weighed the same. And I remember it being a thing. I remember everyone saying, you know, Ileka's 5 and she's 7, and they both weigh 50 pounds. And so I remember that being a bad thing. So when I was put on my first diet, you know, it was weird. It was wild, right? I'm 8 years old and I'm on a diet. I'm at the doctor's office and I walk in, the doctor weighs us and his face goes, and at first I'm like, okay, because I knew how much I weighed. I was on the scale all the time, but I was 135 pounds and I was 8. And he immediately turned to my mother and was like, she needs to be on a diet. And I remember my sisters were sitting over there, my older sister and my younger sister, because it was only 3 of us at the time. And I remember my sister saying, them laughing when the doctor said it. And my mother taking it seriously, like, okay, what do we have to do? And at 8 years old, I was told that I had to eat things like carrots and frozen yogurt while my sisters still got to eat ice cream and drink orange soda, right? I was told I had to write down everything that I ate. So I remember the doctor sending us to a nutritionist, and the nutritionist giving me this like pad of paper. And in the paper, there was this, it was like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever, right? And then that was across the top. And on the side, it was, you know, breakfast, lunch, snack, dinner, right? And there was no option for dessert because you're fat, you gotta lose weight, so dessert's not an option. So, so I remember having to write down like breakfast, you know, oatmeal and, you know, whatever, right? Oatmeal and water or something, right? Lunch, and I had like peanut butter on celery, and I had, you know, turkey sandwich because I no longer got to eat ham sandwiches or bologna sandwiches because that was too much fat and I was fat, so I couldn't eat it, right? So this was a turkey sandwich now. And then, you know, the milk or whatever, and I had to go to skim milk now. Everybody else is drinking regular milk. I had to now drink skim milk. And this was just my life now. This is what I did. And I remember doing that probably for about 3 or 4 months. And honestly, I didn't lose 1 pound. Part of the reason was because whenever I had a chance to eat something outside of what I had to write down, I was eating it. These types of things gave me that kind of, it gave me like a stigmatism or something, right? You know, you get a stigmatism in your eye and it makes you look at things differently. It was the same thing in my brain. I now had a stigmatism saying this, you know, this is who you are. You're fat, so you got to eat differently. And from that point on, it shifted the way I looked at myself and the way I envisioned myself. And it really played a part in my health journey for the next 30 years. Because over the next 30 years, I was always on some diet. Literally, you name it and I was on it. Like cabbage soup diet, right? Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, what's that thing called? Those bariatric clinics where you go and they tell you can have 20 carbs a day or whatever. I did some diet where you ate like eggs all day, and another one where you had like grapefruit. Like every single fad diet or program, right? I did it, right? I did all of them. Ideal protein, you name it and I did it. And all of them, you know, I lost some weight until I didn't. There was always some sort of stigmatism because the thing is, I wasn't gonna lose weight as long as I continued to look at myself as the fat girl. I'd go on trips with friends, and of course when we do like either a ladies trip or even a couples trip, because, you know, I got married, you know, well, I guess it wasn't 20 years ago, but I got married when I was almost 30. And during that time, we would go on like different trips and stuff. And the trips that we go on, I was always trying to lose weight for whatever trip, you know? Like, oh, I want to be able to get in the pictures and feel good when we go on this ladies trip or when we go on the couples trip. And yet every trip you got pictures and pictures of either me and my husband or me and my friends. And there I am, always the fat girl. And it didn't feel good. I'm going to be honest. Like, I hated it a lot. And I always felt like something was wrong with me. Yeah, of course I didn't show it. Like, if you ever met me during this time, I walked around with a lot of confidence. Like, you would have thought that I ruled the world. You would have thought that I had all the confidence on earth. When the fact of the matter is, I didn't. I didn't feel good. I was embarrassed. I was always kind of overcompensating for something. So the reason probably one of the reasons I was so good in my career was because I was overcompensating, right? I had to be the best because I didn't want anybody to ever look at me as lazy or different because of my weight. So I was always killing it, you know? Even in my family, right? Always like overcompensating. My kids was in every activity, and I was doing like workbooks with them and all these different things. They were like 4 years old, right? But overcompensating, everything was an overcompensation. I ensured that I got married to my amazing husband. I really pushed for that relationship to happen. Like, I was always such a pusher, such a go-getter. Like, overly done because I could control everything else in my life, but I couldn't control my weight. So everything else was going to be on point. That is the way I did things. That's the way I saw it. And it was weird, right? It was weird. And everything changed at the age of 37. And so the reason it all changed was, I remember taking, well, it was 3 things that happened. I've done a whole video on this, but I'll quickly jump through those 3 things. So the first thing was, I was sitting there with my kids. My husband and I were sitting there with the kids, and my son, my oldest son, he's absolutely amazing. He used to do workout videos with me. If you go back and watch some of my old videos, he was working out with me in them. And he turned to me, I think he was like 7, and he said, Mommy, oh my goodness, I really want you to play this game with me, but we have to sit on the floor to play the game, and I know you're just too fat to get on the floor because it's really hard for you. And so he's just telling the story. He's just talking, right? And me, it was like a dagger in my stomach. It was as if somebody punched me in the gut and pulled out everything that's inside. I remember just like doing everything I could not to cry. So I held it. And I was like, okay, buddy, yeah, no, I can't play the game with you. Maybe daddy can play. And my husband immediately was like, yo, you need to apologize to mommy. And I'm like, no, it's fine. Here, I'm just gonna go upstairs. I literally ran my 350-pound behind up those stairs, right? And went to my room and bawled. But I couldn't let my baby see me crying, cry about that. I didn't want him to feel like he did something wrong. Because at the end of the day, it was me. It was me that couldn't seem to control the way I saw myself. It was me that couldn't control my weight. And so I remember that was the first thing. The second thing was we were at the doctor's office. I would take all 4 kids to the doctors at the same time because when you're a mom of 4, you got to make it happen, right? So all of them at the doctor's, and my daughter, she's the youngest. She was about 1.5, maybe 2 at the time. And I remember, I think it was actually she was 2 because it was a 2-year-old appointment. And I remember the doctor came over and she's like, your daughter is scaling a little high, and she's she's a little bigger than she should be, on this chart, and blah, blah, blah. And it literally took me back. Like, it was like deja vu of them telling my mother. And my daughter was too young to even realize what was happening. But for me, I was like, hell no. She will not go through that same thing that I went through. And I remember telling the doctor, stop talking. And she's like, no, stop talking now. I understand what's happening. I've got this. I don't need any of your instructions, because in my mind, I already know that doctors don't really know a whole ton about nutrition. I remember what the other doctor told me. And even though it's 30 years earlier, but I was like, anything, they're just going to give me a pamphlet, tell her to start drinking skim milk, and it's going to be BS. And that's what they freaking did. It was the same instructions that I had received 30 years earlier, actually 37 years earlier, something like that, right? The same instructions. I'm like, are you kidding me? Nothing's changed in these 30 years. Drink skim milk and eat more oats? What? And I was like, something doesn't feel right about that to me. So I told the woman to stop talking. I've got it. On my way home, I knew, like, I've got to shift something. But here's the dagger. It was the third thing. Here's the third thing. We were at Target, of course, because, mom before, we stopped by Target on our way home from everywhere, right? So we were at Target. We went right to Target on the way home from the doctor. And I had all 4 kids, right? So usually I have like 1 kid in the cart, 1 kid in the, like 1 kid in the back of the cart, 1 kid in the front of the cart, and the other 2 are walking, right? And so one of the walkers, my second son, he ran off. He's probably, I think maybe 5 or something like that at the time. And he went to running, right? So when he went running, I went to chase him, but I couldn't catch him. And it seemed like he was on his way out the door. And so this guy behind me came running past me to go catch my kid. And that's where it all hit me. Like, I'm impacting my family by doing this. I'm thinking, if I can't catch my kid running out the door to outside of Target, and I thought he could have been hit by a car, anything could have happened. Or if this person who caught him had been a crazy nut, he could have grabbed my son and just kept going. If I couldn't catch my freaking 5-year-old, there's no way I could have caught this grown man, right? So I knew something had to change. And that's when I started to shift. And so the first thing I did was, I did what I knew. I started exercising. I went and grabbed that, my old videos, my old T25 and, Turbo Jam and all that stuff, right? And went to work, went to exercising. And then of course the doctor's like, well, you can't really exercise, because I started getting these pains in my feet. My feet were hurting so bad. Like every time I get up to walk, like I'm like limping. I'm like, what is this pain? Like I was used to the pain in my knees and my back, but this foot thing was different. Go to the doctor, and the doctor's like, you got stage 4 plantar fasciitis. And yeah, you gotta stop with the exercise. And I'm like, no. I was like, I'm finally on a roll with this exercise thing. I haven't exercised like this consistently in a long time, and I'm not about to stop. So what else can you do, right? And they were like, we can do a cortisol shot. Maybe you can take some ibuprofen. And I was like, cool, let's do it. So they gave me a cortisol shot in both of my feet to like ease some of the pain. I started taking ibuprofen every day and continued exercising. And here's the thing, I lost some weight. Like some weight started to come off. You know, it's about a month or so. I probably lost like 4 pounds. And I was like, okay, you know, this is cool, right? But I was like, in my mind, I was like, this just isn't fast enough. Like, I want to get this freaking weight off. I want to look different. This was probably, it probably started like November 2016. November, December 2016. I was like, I want to get this off. I'm tired of looking like this. And then I remember a friend of mine was like, well, we could try this keto thing, you know, like, and I was like, well, we tried that before. It didn't work. And I had to buy a bunch of crappy foods, and, you know, because we tried it through this program, and it wasn't really, it was keto, but it wasn't like keto the way I felt like it should be. It was just like, you know, you're eating their foods and you get into ketosis, but you're eating their foods, and it just was nasty and not my thing. So then I was like, I got to do this differently. I don't want to do this. And so my friend was like, well, I was like, you know what? Let me look up some different ways of doing keto that might actually work well, that could actually have me like lose the weight. Cause there wasn't a lot of information about keto, but I knew that it helped because I'd lost weight before eating that crap food. And I was like, I could probably do this. Cause they taught us what keto was a little bit in that program. So I was like, I could probably do this and not eat their foods. So that's what I started doing. I started eating more like turkey and eggs and chicken and fish. I didn't eat beef. I didn't eat pork at this time. I do now, but I didn't back then. And I was like, let me just try this. Let me see what happens. Let me see how this thing works. So for breakfast, I started doing things like eggs with some turkey bacon and avocado, right? And I drink my coffee. So in breakfast, I will say this. For me, breakfast wasn't until like noon, right? I would have my coffee earlier. My friend had taught me about the bulletproof coffee. She's a nurse and just an amazing person. And so she taught me about this bulletproof coffee, and I was like, I'll try it, but you want me to put butter in my coffee? You sure? Because that sounds disgusting. And she was like, just do it. Just try it. I'm telling you, it's amazing. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. So I did. I tried putting butter, and she was like, add this little NCT oil. So I did that, and some stevia and some, I think we were using heavy cream. And sometimes I'll just use half and half because I couldn't always take the heavy cream. You know, I'm lactose intolerant. I'd be lying to myself that I'm not, but I am. So sometimes the heavy cream wasn't working on my stomach. So I would do that, and the coffee was delicious. And I was like, I can drink this. And I put a little frother in it. Yum, right? It's like, I can do this. So that's what I started. That was the initial thing. And that was what I would have like after my workouts. I'd get up, I'd do my workout at like 6 a.m., right? 6:30, something like that, 5:30 sometimes. And then I would have my bulletproof coffee when I got home, around after I got the kids out the door. So like 9 something, I'd have my bulletproof coffee. And then from there, I would make my eggs and turkey bacon at like noon, and my avocado. And I would eat that every day. And then a little later, I might have a protein shake, because you guys know I love my protein shakes. So I would do like some chocolate protein with some peanut butter and a bunch of green vegetables and like all this stuff I was throwing. I would change the way I did my protein shakes all the time. There was always gonna be avocado in there. Always, because I gotta thicken it up. It's always gonna be a chocolate protein, always some peanut butter or a peanut butter powder in there, and call it a day. Delicious. So I would drink that, and then for dinner I'd usually have like either ground turkey on top of a salad, so it would be like my taco bowls, or I'd have chicken wings or something like that. And I did that just about every day, and it felt good and it felt easy. And I have so many videos where I showed how I did that, you know, as a mom of 4. So, because, you know, I still have to cook for my kids and my husband. So I would eat like that, and I would cook for them, and it'd be similar meals, right? And all I would do is, instead of them having a taco in a bowl, like a taco bowl like me, they would have theirs in a shell. Or instead of having a chicken and broccoli, they would have chicken, broccoli, and rice, or chicken, broccoli, and corn, or whatever it was that they wanted, you know? So it'd be the same meal, and I would just eat like the vegetable and the meat. And that's how I did it. And I did that for a year, and I lost 120 pounds. I felt amazing. Like, I felt absolutely incredible. And it wasn't just like, ooh, look at me, I lost weight. But it was like, my brain felt better. Like, it felt like the brain fog was gone. I had more energy. I'll never forget the first time I got on a plane and I sat down and I was like, oh, I've got room in my knees. Like, I had space, because I'm 5'10", so I'm already tall. But then with the extra weight, it was like I was on top of the seat in front of me. I actually had space, but on top of the space here, like from here to here, right? I had space on the sides. Literally, I could put the seatbelt on with no problem. I didn't have to ask for an extender. I didn't have to struggle to get it on. I didn't do any of that stuff. It was like, I'm fitting this seatbelt, right? The person next to me had their own seat. I wasn't like easing into their seat. It was just that space, and it was comfortable, a comfortable airplane ride. Like, for some of y'all won't get that, but for those of us that have been, you know, over 250 or over 300 pounds, we get that like nobody's business, right? And so that's how it felt. So it was like absolutely amazing. But even small things, like I remember when my son had he had like a violin concert, and I've talked about this before, but he had a violin concert in, I think, 2016. And when he had his concert, I went to the violin concert, and it's standing room only, right? And so you can't really see if you get there, you know, anytime, if you're not like the first person there, right? You can barely see. And so I wanted to be able to see. And so I noticed some of the parents that went and sat on the floor, like in the front, so they could see. And I thought, oh, I want to do that. So I went around and I thought, let me get on the floor. And then I thought, if I get on this floor, and remember in 2016, I was a lot bigger. So I was like over 300 pounds. And I thought, if I get on this floor, what if I can't get up? And so now I have to go to the back and barely be able to see my son during his violin concert. So now cut to 2017, same concert, right? Now I scoot around, I go and you know, I see all the parents sitting on the floor. And I thought, I can hop on this floor. Because at this time I could do burpees, I'm doing all this stuff. So if I can do a burpee, I can get on the doggone floor. I go and I sit down, I'm watching the concert. I got great view. I can see everything he's doing. Concert's over, I hop right up. All right, time to go. Like, huge changes. That's so different. And so just having those types of situations and feeling like that, feeling that energy, feeling good, that was a game changer for me. And so that's why when people are like, well, Ileka, how did you keep the weight off for the last 8 years or 7 years? How have you kept the weight off? And here's the secret. there's two secrets to that. One is I started seeing myself differently. I realized that since the age of 8, I had envisioned myself as always the fat girl. So as long as I was seeing myself as that fat girl, I was gonna be that fat girl. So I was gonna keep trying to get to that. No matter how much weight I'd lose, I'd keep trying to get back to her. Because that's how I saw myself. And that's huge, right? So I had to reimagine that. And I had to see myself as a healthy, and not that you can't be healthy if you're overweight, but I didn't feel healthy, frankly. But I had to see myself as someone that was healthy, happy, that could bend my knees without hearing it, that could have that could do squats without the pain, that could hop on the floor and hop right back up with no problem. I had to envision that, right? I had to envision myself as having some great abs and all those things, right? And when I could see that, that's what I continued to live into. So that was one thing, and that may be a little too much, a little woo-woo for some folks. So let me tell you the other thing, the second thing, right? I knew I didn't want to be that other person anymore. Like whenever something comes up where I'm feeling myself gaining a little too much weight, like there's been times where I've gained 30 pounds or 40 pounds back, and I'm like, ooh, my knees are hurting again. Ooh, my back's hurting again. And I think, I don't ever want to be in a situation where I can't run out the door and catch my kid. Or if I can't get on the ground at one of their violin practices or concerts or one of their sporting events, I can't walk down there or I can't get down to the event because it's too much of a walk, or I can't climb up this thing, or whatever it is. Like, I want to be able to do those things. And I don't want to ever go back to being that woman that couldn't. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is just routine, right? We create these routines that allow us to keep going. So when it becomes a routine, it becomes more normalized. That's why I talked about what my day looked like. Get up at 6, I don't get up at 6 anymore. It's around 7 something, right? But still, I would get up at 6 because this is when I was working in corporate America. Now I don't work in corporate America, so I can get up at 7, But I would get up at 6. I would go and get my workout in. I'd come back home. Get the kids out the door, have my coffee, my bulletproof coffee, have my eggs and turkey bacon, go and, continue my work day, right? And then come back in and maybe make my protein shake, and then continue with my work day, and then come back and make dinner for the family. And that was my day. That's what I did every day. And of course I did other stuff. I had fun. If it was like a night that the ladies all decided to go out, I'd do a ladies' night, whatever it was. But I created things that aligned with that. So if I was doing a ladies' night, I was like, okay, well, let me look at the menu beforehand so I can know what I can get. So I look at those things, and I still do that. And it's just a part of my everyday, and it's fine. But that's the thing. It's like creating those routines is what allowed me to stick to it. Making that a part of my life and my lifestyle, that's what allowed me to stick to it. Because when I'm choosing to be like, I don't want to do this routine, it's fine to choose it once in a while to not do the routine. But if every day or every time I turn around, it's like, okay, I'm not doing the routine today. And then it's like, okay, I'm going 3 days not doing the routine. And then now it's a month and I haven't been on it, right? That's happened to me before. And I notice when that happens, I don't feel good. I don't feel like myself. I feel weaker. My knees hurt again. I'm tired. My hormones and are all imbalanced, so I don't even feel right. I might be crying more or feeling down more, all of these things, because it's no longer who I am. I don't feel like that. And I don't want to feel like that anymore, And so that's what allows me to stick to it. And the last thing that hit me when I was on this weight loss journey and I lost the weight, lost that 120 pounds, was that I was at a weight that I had not been at in over 20 years. So the last time that I gotten into like the 220 or below the 220s was 1999 or 97, 98, something like that, right? That was the last time I was below 220. And so to get there again, that was life-changing for me. It felt amazing. And I was like, I'm not giving this up. No, this is me. This is my new thing. And I don't stay all the time in the 219s or the 2 teens or whatever. Heck, sometimes I'm in the 230s. And recently when I had some major life issues, I'd gotten up to like the 250s and I think at one point 260s. Like, this is a thing, right? But it's a journey. So that's when I hop right back into the routine, because I know my knees were hurting again, my back was hurting again, my feet, all of those things came back. And so I jumped back into the routine, and that gets me back to where I want to be. So I hope that helps someone out there, just hearing the journey, hearing what it was for me. And maybe you heard a little bit of you and yourself in that story. And I hope it hurts. And I hope it helps, you know? And if you'd like to reach out, connect or whatever, one thing that I do is, so I used to coach. I was a weight loss coach for several years, a weight loss and wellness coach. I help thousands of women, you know, achieve their goals. And so the way I help now is I either can connect you with other wellness coaches, and I send tips and strategies and things like that out. And every so often I'll even host a challenge, right? Like, let's jumpstart your journey. Let's get things started, right? Let's move forward for now, you know? And so every so often I'll host a challenge, probably like once or maybe twice a year tops, just for fun, right? And I always like for there to be like a cash prize and those types, because it's so much fun when you're doing it and you got some motivation. And I know, of course, we get to be motivated by our own goals and what we want, but also a little money can be motivating too. So that's how I do it. And so if you go to ilekafalette.com, you can always sign up for my newsletter, where I'll be sharing like weekly tips and strategies and tricks and routines and things like that I do. Also, what I love doing is giving out free gifts. So I have like a free grocery list for folks who are like, you know what, it's a free list of like quick tips and tricks, right, on this journey to stay consistent, and also a grocery list that'll help you stay consistent as well. So when you sign up for the newsletter, you'll get that also. All right, so I hope everyone has a great day. Please subscribe, follow, share this video if you feel like it's going to help someone. I think it's super important, and I'm rooting for you. And please keep rooting for me, because we get to do this. All right, take care, everyone.
Don't forget to subscribe. Be sure to watch my mom's next video.